Hello and welcome to about 15 minutes of movement that you can take for strengthening your hips, your glutes, and your back. All you really need is the ground and a yoga block or something that can stand in for a yoga block. You want something that can bear at least a little bit of weight, so something that's going to collapse like a cereal box kind of thing won't work, but it's not going to use all of your body weight. We're going to start on our hands and knees, putting our block to the side for right now. A good warm-up would be some cow-cats. So starting with spreading your fingers nice and wide, hips are over knees. Taking some back bends and some forward folds. Our back bends are cow, where we lift up our tailbone, we let the abdomen drop, let the chest drop, keep your arms nice and straight. And then if your neck feels good, lifting your gaze. If not, you can skip the neck part. And then we'll tuck the tailbone. Draw the abdomen in, lowering the gaze. There's your cat. Let's take a few rounds of that. Imagine you could move one vertebra at a time here. Do one more set. Before we return to a nice neutral spine. And we're going to add a few more, but we're going to take one leg out at a time. And that's going to give you a nice stretch for the inner thigh muscles. So you're on hands and knees. I'm just going to do it this way so you can see what I mean. And we're going to take one leg out to the side. You probably will start feeling a stretch pretty quickly on the inner thigh. Take a look and see that your other hip is stacked over your other knee. And take a few sets of cow-cat like this. You may need to change your foot position here. So do what works for you so that you're getting a stretch on the inner thigh. One more set. And then bring that knee down, take your other leg out. One more set. Neutral spine, returning to hands and knees. We're going to take bird dog for some hip stability work. And strength, challenge your balance a little bit, maybe even building a little bit of strength. So hands and knees. Once again, take your right leg long behind you. Rest on the ball of your right foot. And then rock back and forth a little bit for a calf stretch. You can linger here by rocking back if that feels good. Come back to neutral, hover the right leg. Toes are facing down towards the ground for a nice neutral spine. And then can you look at your left hip and see if you're sending your left hip way out to the left, way past the knee. Can you draw it back in? That will allow you to work on some hip stability. Nice long neck, so the gaze is forward and down. Breathing right here, or taking the left arm long in front of you. Breathing here. Reaching out through the left fingers, reaching out through the right heel. One more big breath. Bring the left hand down, right knee down. If you need a break for your wrists at this point, you can shift back towards your heels, maybe stretching the fascia on the bottom of your feet if you would like. If that doesn't feel right for you, you could come back and just come down onto your forearms. Maybe a few circles. Coming back up to hands and knees, we'll do side two. Spread those fingers wide and see if you could press more into the thumb side edge of your hands. Left foot back on the ball of the left foot. Little rocking back and forth. Stretch out those calf muscles. Come back to neutral, hover the left leg. Toes, once again, turn down towards the ground. If you're not sure, you could maybe peek back there. Most folks I see want to turn their foot out, so it may not be obvious to you that you're doing that. So take a peek. Breathe right here, or take the right arm out in front of you. Also do what you can to keep your right hip stacked over your right knee. This may look simple, but it's certainly not easy. Take one more breath as you reach through the right fingers and press out through the left heel, and then lower back down. A break for your wrists. Next up is going to be a gate to side plank flow. This will be a nice side body stretch, an opportunity to strengthen your obliques, your side abdominal muscles, as well as work on strengthening the muscles of the outer hip. So from hands and knees, have your block to your side. Take the opposite leg out to the side. Start to walk your hands back towards you until you rise up. Once again, seeing that that hip is stacked over the knee. Noticing sensation in the inner thigh. We'll start with gate pose, arm on that long leg, and take the opposite arm up and over. Breathing here, sitting up nice and tall. Side body stretch. And then we'll come into side plank. That arm that was overhead is going to come down onto the block. You're really going to press the ground away here. So we want a really strong shoulder. So we don't want to dump into the shoulder. So really press the ground away. Lift the left leg. The left arm can come up. It can come overhead. It can stay on your hip. Choose your variation. Breathing here. And then we're going to flow back to our gate pose. We're going to come upright. We're going to change the height of our block. So it's going to make it taller, which is going to make the side plank a little bit more difficult, more challenging, should you choose to do so. Really pressing the ground away, pressing that block away. Arm might come overhead, leg might lift. Back to gate. Rise back up, grab your block, hold it overhead, which you probably can't see in this video. Try to keep that hip stacked over the knee. Can you lift that long left leg? Not easy for most folks. And these can be just little lifts and lowers if you can. Great. Lower the block down. Come back to hands and knees and bring that left leg in. We'll put the block on the other side. Hands down, right leg out to the side. Left hip over left knee. Walking the hands back up. Gate pose on side 2. Noticing the side body stretch, noticing an inner thigh stretch. We'll lower the hand down onto that block, which has been lowered. You could even start lower if you wanted to. Press the ground away. Arm might come up and overhead, or hand on hip, or hand up high. Maybe you lift the right leg. And breathe. We'll come back up for gate. Notice where you're feeling a stretch. Rise back up, bring your block up higher. Press that hand into the block. Side plank on side, or second option. I'm pressing out through my right heel here. Rise back up to gate. Come back up, hands overhead. Just consider this option. This is the hardest one. And then maybe without shifting that other hip, that left hip out too far, can you lift and lower? And you can put your block down and lower down onto your abdomen. Baby cobra. Lying on your abdomen, bring your hands under your shoulders, elbows bent, long neck. Chin towards chest, take a breath in. As you breathe out, press into your hands and lift up to your degree. Notice how your low back feels. And lower down. If you were feeling sensation, great. If you were feeling pinching or compression, you might want to spread your feet a little bit wider. So experiment with this, with the space between your feet. Chin to chest, breathe in, breathe out, lifting up, thinking about your shoulder blades just sliding down your back towards your backside. You may come up this high, you might not come up this high. That's okay. We're all different. All right, we're going to do this again. And this time, if you would like to consider cobra, this is more of a back bend. The difference between baby cobra and cobra is the position of the arms. So hands still stay under the shoulders, chin still towards chest. As we exhale, we rise up and maybe straighten the arms. Much more of a back bend. I tend to be pretty back bendy, so just keep that in mind. Maybe you aren't very back bendy. Don't think that that means you're not doing the pose. But I just wanted to offer that for those of you out there that are. And we'll lower down. Last option will be more challenging because we're going to take our hands out of the equation. We're going to keep our elbows bent. We're going to breathe in, chin to chest, breathe out, lift up, but hover the hands. Notice that I do not come up nearly as far because my hands aren't helping me. All the work is along with the muscles along the spine. So if you want to transfer all the work into the muscles of the back, this is a great option to try. And then lower down. We'll come back up, and then we're going to lower down onto our backs. You could also just roll over if you wanted to. All right, a little glute strength. Taking your block, placing it under your right foot. Take your left leg long. Do your best to not let your neck and shoulders do the work here. All right, we're going to really press into the foot that's on that block. If you'd like, you could keep your hands on top of your pelvis to try to keep your pelvis nice and neutral so that you're not dumping into one side or the other, just to get the most out of this. All right, so trying to keep your pelvis level. We're going to press into that right foot, and we're going to lift the pelvis and the left leg. And then lower it down. Press into that right foot, lift the pelvis, lift the long left leg. Do this any number of times that feels like a challenge for you. And keep your attention on the glutes on the right. Those are the ones that are getting the strengthening here. If you want to add on to this, you can lift the pelvis up, lift the leg up, open the left leg out to the side. But notice if you start to turn, see if you can keep your body straight and just open the leg. Bringing it back up, lowering it down. I'll show you that one more time. Pelvis lifts, left leg opens to the side. Stretch for the inner left thigh muscles and lower down. We'll switch to side two. We'll bring that block under the left foot. Another check-in with the shoulders and the neck. Let them just kind of take a little nap here. I've got my hands on the top of my pelvis. Press into my left foot, lift the pelvis, lift the right leg. And lower. Take your time. I'm moving a little quickly for the sake of this video. Perhaps you connect to your breathing here. Maybe the breath in lifts you up. The breath out lowers you down. And then option to lift up, open out. Bring back up, lower down, lift up, open out, come back up, and lower down. And again, if you want to do that several more times, you could pause this video and do that several more times. A little hamstring strengthening. Hamstrings are on the backs of your thighs. We're going to walk our feet out. It looks a little bit like bridge. Again, neck, shoulders, relaxed. Arms can be at your sides, or maybe arms are up in front of you so that you really don't try to use your arms here. Notice I've walked my feet out some. I'm rooting into my heels, and I'm going to lift my pelvis up. Pause here and notice, are you feeling work on the back of your thighs? If so, can you linger and breathe here? If not, lower down and walk your feet further away. Root down into those heels, lift your pelvis up. So it's going to be different again for everybody, so kind of see what works for you. But do know that you need to keep some bend in your knee. in your knees. If you have two straight legs and lift up, you're stretching your hamstrings perhaps, but you're not strengthening them, and that's my intention here. So you can do this any number of repetitions, and maybe you work up to more times that you're able to linger. We'll lower back down. You can walk your feet back in. Let's just take a few hip circles here as we conclude this time together. So I'm going to take both legs long. You can bend into one knee if you want. With the right leg, take some hip circles. Again, trying to keep my pelvis nice and neutral as best I can, just so that I can get into as many areas of the hip as possible. Take those circles the other direction. Maybe your leg comes up higher. Maybe it's barely hovering. We're getting some nice hip rotation here. Lower the right leg, lift the left. And, maybe I feel like my left leg is feeling a little more adventurous, and so I take the leg higher and take those circles the other direction. Lower down. There is several minutes here that you just spent strengthening and doing a little bit of stretching for the back and for the hips and the hamstrings. So if you'd like to take a little shavasana here, you're welcome to spend a few moments breathing and resting. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day.